Prologue. There are people with special abilities. They live beyond the human world. They are called Malaika. Like you, I never knew they existed, and was somewhat happy in my ignorance. Life was good, if not a little boring. I enjoyed my family, my friends, and even college was a welcome distraction from the truth. The truth was that I may have been happy, but I wasn't content. I wasn't satisfied. No matter how hard I tried to push the desire for excitement aside, I couldn't help but feel there was more out there. I never imagined that desire was there for a reason, or that it was intertwined with intuition, my body's eerie ability to somehow grasp what would happen before it ever did. This intuition goes farther than the common woman's intuition that lets you know the guy in the leather jacket isn't actually a bad boy, but a geek playing pretend. It even goes beyond the intuition that clues you in on who to trust and who to avoid. This intuition allows glimpses of what will happen before it does, whether it is feelings, people, or events. I have the strangest of dreams, but none will ever equal the strangeness of the one that occurred the night my life changed irrevocably. I desired excitement, and that night, I got it. I was pulled into a world I knew nothing about with the abruptness of a freight train barreling into a station without its brakes. To think, one little home invasion started it all. One night, out of a series of ordinary nights, changed not only my life, but also the course of the world. One little night that started with one little dream. That night, I discovered a world beyond my own. Prepare to do the same. Discover a world beyond your imagining. Discover a world beyond our own. Love is always portrayed in the ways that are gentle and sweet. Falling, sweeping, gravity. But when you're near, it's a hurricane wrenching me off my feet, tsunami drenching me, twister never settling down, rage of a storm when I see you frown. Earthquakes keep me on my toes. Dancing with you makes me go oh, oh, oh. Flying away in some turbulent winds, till you bring me down again. Our love is catastrophic. Chapter 1. The jingle of my keys against the doorknob was a welcome sound after a long night of work on my feet. I was ready to eat and sleep, and was looking forward to the cool sheets of my bed with a particularly strong anticipation. Working in a restaurant could be fun some nights, but others just had me wanting to scream, "Yes, you are the customer, and no, you're not right." An outburst like that would have me unemployed for sure, so I just endured instead. I pasted that syrupy sweet smile on my face and survived until I could come back home to sanctuary. The cold metal of the doorknob flashed my mind back to the dream that had been plaguing me nightly for the past 2 weeks. The dream that featured the man whose face I never saw, whose voice I never heard. The man I didn't know. Yet still he watched me, with frigid menace. Ice would appear out of nowhere to slither up to freeze me in place. The man would never move, just watching, as the ice crept up to cover my legs, waist, fingers, before stealing my breath, with its unbearably cold touch against my throat. Then a man would scream my name, the sound hoarse with worry, as the noose tightened, and I knew I was about to shatter into a million shards of the ice until, like Humpty, I'd never be whole again. Then the dream ends, and I awake in a cold sweat, haunted by the unknown. Refusing to give in to the memory, I tugged the door open to be greeted with dark silence, and quickly witched through to flip the entry light on. The parents were out again, and weren't expected back till next week. I was home by myself. Again. It didn't matter, or at least it shouldn't matter. I preferred to be alone, even so much as to lock myself in my room and discourage visitation. I liked to have time to think. Sometimes being around others was hard. It never really felt like I fit, like a puzzle piece randomly thrown into the wrong box. There must surely be a message tattooed on my forehead that read, "Kara Paul, official outcast. Do not disturb." But surely everyone felt that way every once in a while. Besides, no matter how big my 5 head may be, that message couldn't fit. That thought made me feel less dark introspective poet. I just hated the feeling that I merely existed. Everyone needs a purpose. All these thoughts crossed through my head as I walked through the front door. They flew by so fast that half the time even I couldn't understand them. Is it any wonder I'm a confused individual? The patterned borders of the door's edge dug into my palm as I focused back on my surroundings. The house was quiet, but somehow still welcoming. Even empty, the house seemed to issue an invitation to step inside and admire. The high recessed ceiling lent an open quality to the main room, while the quaint picturesque Kincaid above the fireplace pretended to extend the walls further. Making my way through the main entrance and living room, I ventured to the kitchen, the most important room in the house, discounting my own bedroom. Not that I was in it much. Most of my time was spent in my dorm on the college campus. I was just home for a weekend to work so that I could pay for the compulsive online shopping sprees I habitually indulged in. One day I might be featured on one of those addicted to shopping documentary shows. Although to look at me, you wouldn't be able to tell. I bought things and pictured myself wearing them, but I rarely put the outfits together and made a good impression. Most of the time I was lucky if my clothes matched, because my main goal was always comfort. As cute as peasant blouses and 4.5-inch wedges may be, they just weren't practical. That was me, the boring, practical one. There's really nowhere to wear the pretty clothes anyway, although sometimes I felt bad for my friends when we got together. You gotta have respect for anyone willing to hang out with someone who thought that wearing a navy blue top, black shorts, and blue and purple tie-dye shoes was socially acceptable. But I was half asleep that day, so I assumed I was excused. Turning on the TV for some background noise, I slinked to the pantry to see what gourmet dish could be created in the 5-minute commercial break. I didn't necessarily like to cook, but I did like to eat. Usually I was the only one who was willing to eat my dishes. Everyone else claimed my food smelled weird. Cereal and peanut butter were the only appealing items to be found. Yum. Whoever had invented Cocoa Krispies must have been a genius, and was surely rich by now. Pouring a bowl, I settled in at the bar. Nick at Night was the only thing worth watching at this time of night, unless of course you wanted to watch infomercials, featuring models straightening their wig hair, or hammering the elliptical to make their legs look like bulgy twigs. A commercial with a girl who had somehow combined the straight wig hair and bulgy twig legs attractively popped on screen to talk about how cheap her clothes were. I highly doubt that. Commercials like these didn't bug me, but I was just a tad skeptical. I wasn't the all-American pretty girl that was featured on the covers of those preppy magazines, or the hair commercials where their hair managed to stay perfectly in place, even as fans blew it tantalizingly through the air. I just couldn't manage that. I was normal, in an offbeat, unnormal way. I was short, with thick, medium-length, light brown hair, blue-gray eyes, and a nose that God made while admiring a pig's upturned snout. Finally, the commercials ended so that I could see which rerun of an old classic TV show was on. George Lopez appeared on screen, and I didn't know whether to feel happy or disappointed. Honestly, how many reruns does one have to see of George Lopez before they memorize all the lines or go crazy? Can anyone say, "I got this"? Since it was one of the newer episodes, the daughter had gone off to college, and her adorably delicious boyfriend wasn't on the show. Bummer. Without the eye candy, I didn't see a reason to cut down my hours of sleep to continue watching. When I yawned for the 4th time in as many minutes, I gave up and shut it off. Bed seemed as good an option as any. Forcing my weary legs to trudge up the stairs required too much effort. I should have just gone straight to bed. A quick brush and rinse of my teeth was all I could manage before continuing on to my room. I kicked aside piles of clothes to reach my bed and the promise of rest, before changing my mind and direction to head to the drawers against the opposite wall. I rifled through what little clean clothes I had left until my fingers lapsed into a baggy shirt of my dad's and elastic-waist shorts. Then I leapt into the bed and changed before sliding beneath the covers and tossing my uniform to join the piles on the floor, while reminding myself the laundry had become a necessity. I slid my bare legs back and forth between the sheets, and the alarm clock caught my eye. To sleep in or not to sleep in? That was the question. Tomorrow was Saturday, so there was technically no reason to wake up early and be even semi-productive, though there was the wash to consider. Even as I pondered the choice, my eyelids grew heavier and slid further down until I gave in and snuggled into the fluffy body pillow next to me. Before I knew it, I was out. There is no escape. Whoever it is, whatever it is, has me trapped. I try to dig through the wall in front of me. Nails are breaking, but I am beyond the pain. Despite my perseverance, the concrete refuses to budge. I don't know why I expect it to. I just know that I need to get out. Everything counts on me getting out. The cloud preceding what I somehow know will be the ultimate evil keeps getting closer and closer. It's engulfing everything it touches, leaving a path of black destruction in its wake. Nothing is sacred. Nothing is safe. People are swept away with the same lack of care as the buildings and vehicles, yet the only scream to be heard is my own. Too much time has been wasted already. I turn back to the wall. It starts moving forward, pressing me closer to the dark threat, as if dragged by some unseen force. Spinning around in an agony of indecision, I try to reason my way out. Surely there must be some way out. The wall burns against my back, stuck between a wall and a soft cloud. For some reason, this thought is unbelievably funny to me. I must be hysterical. I can't give up. They are counting on me. Everything relies on me. But why? I don't even know. I just know this is important. There is no time left for answers. The cloud is reaching forward to devour my arms as if it is a living entity. Then the limbs disappear, and the ink slathers up to my heart. This is it. I'm not going to make it. A sharp clacking noise pulled me out of my nightmare. Heavy pants of breath sounded through the room, and my shirt clung to my back. Taking a moment to calm down, I turned towards the clock to see 3:06 a.m. flash in bright green. Ugh, and now I need to go to the bathroom. I hated getting up in the middle of the night. Maybe I can hold it till morning. I squirmed with the need and realized that wasn't happening. Sitting up, I waited a moment for sleepy eyes to adjust to the darkness. The room slowly started to take focus. The curtain was billowing out with the fan's rotation, and my desk began to take shape beneath adjusting eyes. Feeling satisfied of my ability to maneuver around, I moved to get out of bed. Something glinted in the moonlight around the edges of the curtain outside the window. I scooted forward to get a better look. What was that? Must still be dreaming? The figure seemed to be floating. The clacking noise started again, and I realized it was coming from the window. The window started jerking back and forth, and the semi-sheer curtain covering it fell. No one would ever hear my scream.